Hello, my name is Deborah Budario. I'm an area advisor for the Vermont Small Business Development Center. I'd like to welcome you here this morning. At the Vermont Small Business Development Center, we offer one-on-one, confidential, no-cost business advising to the small businesses in Vermont. We also create tools and trainings to address current business issues, and nothing is more important at this moment in time than the pandemic. So today I'm going to bring you through a tool that we've created for you called the 2021 COVID-19 Roadmap. It's designed to help you respond in a timely manner with a tool that allows you to be self-directed and to work at your own pace. But I'd like to walk you through it the first time so that you can see all of the components. Unfortunately, 2021 is the second year in which COVID-19 is playing too big a role in all of our lives and in the life of your business. As a business owner, you're going to have to continuously assess and respond as the pandemic impacts you, your staff, your customers, and your family. Staying informed and nimble is key. By 2022, hopefully the pandemic will be under control. Certainly as vaccines begin to become more prevalent and rules and regulations from the state change, you will be back in control of your business the way you normally are, which is that you are responding to who your customer is and what their needs are. But doubtless, even then, at the end of the pandemic, there will be a learning curve because our customers are going to act differently than they acted before. So even then, you'll be assessing and responding. So I want you to use this tool, do it at your own pace, do it carefully. It's a lot of work, we understand that. But part of the process of this is to take the pause that we all need in our businesses all the time to gather data, to look at what's actually going on, and to put it all together into our next set of action steps. So we hope that this roadmap gives you a way to do that. It's kind of a checklist. It's a series of worksheets and to-do lists. And again, there is a lot of work, but if you pause and take it piece by piece, I'm going to walk you through it. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with me today, to be willing to take this deep dive. And we now know that as COVID-19 has been with us way too long, we do have more data than we had last year. So let's collect that data. Let's take the pause, then let's analyze it, assess it, and respond. The roadmap is in two sections. There's a section on what we call the master flowchart, which is the entire way to look at a business. And then there's a crucial change flowchart. If something happens, if there's a COVID-19 incident at your business, or with one of your customers, there are some things that need to be done immediately. I'm going to take you through them both. I'm going to bring you through the master flowchart first. I'm going to show you where that is now. So here we are on our website, VtSBDC.org. You'll notice the red banner across the top. This is where all of our COVID resources have been collected. Click the Learn More button. From there, you go to our COVID-19 page. I want to point out a couple of things to you before I get to the roadmap. In the first section, the first green button is to ask us about COVID. It's a way to request more information and to be connected to an advisor. As I said, we do one-on-one confidential, no-cost business advising. So if you do need us right away, please click that button and fill out the form and we will be back to you. The next button is called Disaster Lending and Grants. I'm going to just click this button so you can see what this is. This is a piece of work that we've been doing since the beginning of COVID, which is there is an enormous number of federal and state programs. And we have been interpreting that, reading all of the documentation that's provided by the federal government and creating this disaster lending and grants sheet You can see that we updated. This last one has been updated here. And you can see that any new information each time is highlighted in yellow. You can also request that you be on the mailing list for that from any one of your advisors. And that is, but it's always on our website, and you can always go and find that information. It has lots of links and lots of information that you can use to navigate your way through those programs. Back to the page, the roadmap is the last piece on this page, and you hit View Roadmap. And here it comes. I want to explain a couple of things before we actually go to the roadmap. Below the roadmap, it says in green, click to download all the roadmap flowcharts and supplemental worksheets. If you want them to live on your desktop, you're going to click there, and you can download all of the flowcharts and all of the worksheets that I'm going to bring you through. All the checklists are all in this folder. So remember, that's an important place to go if you would like the material by your side all the time. I'm going to say pause a lot through this video. Favorite words. If you work with me as an advisor, as a client, you're gonna hear that from me a lot. Every time you feel that this is overwhelming, and because it is, obviously we understand that, trying to run a business in COVID-19, you guys are heroes to be able to even get to the point where you want to look at this material. So just take a pause, take a breath, then click again. The way that you use the flowcharts are as follows. You double click on it and it opens. Each flowchart has underlined areas. Every time you hit an underlined area, that brings you to another tool or another piece of information that can be helpful to you. And I'm going to begin to bring you through this now. You're always making decisions, always in your business, but COVID has made these decisions even more powerful, I think, in terms of whether businesses can survive this or not. And some businesses have survived well, other businesses have survived, and some businesses have found that it's not survivable. All of those things are understandable, and we know that. So we want you to gather the information above these two triangular decision-making points so that you can make the best decision for your business and your family at this moment in time. So the triangles are decision-making points. If you make one decision, you go down one side of the flow chart. If you make another decision, you go down below that. So as much as this looks like a lot of work, believe it or not, the goal of the worksheet and the whole flow chart is to be able to stay nimble. Because we've never experienced anything like COVID-19, we don't have a lot of data from the past that shows how the markets are going to respond, how our customers are going to respond. So you're going to have to gather that information yourself, and everybody's customers are acting differently. So knowing exactly what's happening in your market is really important so that you can survive and even thrive as this pandemic continues. You'll notice on the top of this roadmap, there is a crucial change, yellow triangle. That's the second flow chart that I mentioned. We're going to go over that after. That's what happens if you either have a new mandate from the governor about how you can or can't run your business, or you have a COVID-19 incident. So again, we will go back. So step one is to assess the current state of your business. And as I've said, anything that has an underline, and it says it here too, anything that's underlined brings you to another essential resource. So if you click assess the current state of your business, open up, you're going to click enable edit. And now this form is easy for you to use. You can, as I said, download it before from the folder that has all the downloads in it, or you can simply read it on screen. But this allows you to gather all of the information about where you are, where you were before COVID in 2019, and where you are in COVID in the 3 months of 2020. So you're looking at your financial health. And we've given you all the things to gather. How are your systems and is your operation efficient? What's happening in your market? How have they been responding as they've been allowed to come back? Are they coming back? And very importantly, how are your employees doing? Your employees are extremely important in this process, obviously. And then what are your major concerns? What wakes you up in the middle of the night is it your finances? Is it your market? Is it the safety of not only your employees or your customers, but your family? I mean, I've had small businesses that have made very clear decisions through COVID that are directed at the safety of their family and their customers and their employees that are different than any decisions that they've made in the past, knowing that, again, those can change. So gather all of this information. This begins the process of knowing where you are. Remember, this entire flowchart builds one point onto another, which is why they're in order, which is why it's a flowchart. So we're going back to the flowchart. The next thing you're going to do is create your assumptions. Assumptions are based on numbers. And certainly the numbers for some people, the financials of their business, are not everyone's favorite place to be. So we've created another resource for you. It's called Know Your Numbers. I'm going to bring you there now simply so that you can see it. It's another page on our website, and there is a series of excellent videos by one of my fellow advisors and a CPA who bring you through a series of YouTube videos, PowerPoints that tell you you're going to learn things about your revenue streams, your expenses, your profit and loss statement, what it is, how to read it, your balance sheet. Once you have those key financial metrics, how do you use them? How do you manage your cash flow? And then just some general financial management. Each one is a few minutes long. Again, another resource designed for you to be able to use it at your own speed. But if you have any discomfort with the numbers, and believe me, you're not alone if you do. A lot of people find this part of their business the most mystifying, but actually it's the simplest in a way. And it also is the clearest way to know exactly how your business is doing. It's not anecdotal, it's not intuitive, it simply is the reality of what your business is doing. And so getting to know your numbers, I'm fond of saying knowing your numbers is knowing the real language of your business and how it's doing. So it's a language that if you want to be in small business, you need to learn. So this is a tool and resource built for you to do that. I'm going to go back to the roadmap. Sorry. We're going to take a little circuitous route back to the roadmap. The joys of Zoom, I'm sure you're all experiencing that yourselves. So you've assessed, you've now gathered all your information. Now you've gone and done some knowledge building on knowing your numbers if you felt you needed that. And now you're going to create your assumptions. This is the place where, boy, a lot of my people's eyes glaze over, and I know, and if you work with me, I'm going to say it all the time. I think assumptions are a beautiful thing. Yes, are they guesstimates? Of course they're guesstimates. What are they? I get asked, why do I want people to do them so much? Here's why I want you to do your assumptions. I want you to know exactly where you think you're going. They guide your business. They help you formulate your next steps. They're really important, and they take into account the fact that things move and change all the time. So let's go to that sheet and see what it looks like. So here they are, and this is what you need to build them. This is the sheet that enables you to build up to doing a set of 2021 monthly projections. I believe businesses should create projections every single year. I think it's, again, one of the best tools that you could have in running your business, but it's especially important now as we know that one of the ways that businesses have survived COVID has been to reduce their expenses, to increase their revenue streams wherever they could, and to carefully manage debt. Those things have been hard to do, but the businesses that have been doing that are positioning themselves to make it all the way through COVID to the other side and to be in a great position when this pandemic is finally over. So here's a sheet, brings you through exactly what you need. You need to look at where are your receivables? Do you have any other investment options? What does your debt look like? Have you accrued any new debt throughout this program? Are there ways for you to continue to cut expenses? Have you been in contact with your bank and all of your vendors and your landlord? I know these are getting harder and harder, these conversations to have as we go deeper and deeper into COVID, but it's important to have them to make sure that you can, again, reduce as many expenses as you can. In terms of new expenses, COVID safety protocols continue to add cost. We're going to look at where some of those costs are later. There are certainly costs in messaging what's going on at your store, messaging how you are handling safety, messaging to your clients, any new pivot opportunities that you're offering them. I think messaging is another word for marketing. It's just a much easier word. It's any kind of conversation that you have with your customers to let them know what you're doing. Another important one for people, if we scroll back up, is this online presence guide. Certainly, a majority of the pivots that occurred during this process were to, if you had a bricks and mortar retail store, to be able to go to e-commerce. If you had a restaurant, to be able to go to online ordering for curbside pickup. Those have been two of probably the major pivots. This online presence guide is fabulous. I'm going to see if I can open the link so that you can see it. I'm going to tell my own computer that it's fine. This is on our website all the time. You can click through it under our resources, or you can get to it through this. This allows you to assess your website and has a lot of great tips and tools in it. It's done by our social media expert on staff who's just great at this. And it looks at both your website and your social media. And certainly this online presence has been something that people have had to spend a lot more time thinking about in COVID than maybe some of our businesses had before. So use this guide. I would use this guide even when it isn't in a pandemic. I like my clients to look at their online presence at least quarterly. Things change very quickly on the web and in the world of the internet, and certainly in the world of social media. So always having a quick tool like this, great little checklist that can be printed out to just go through and say, when was the last time I updated it? What did I update when I did it? Do I have everything that I need to make my website presence understandable and attractive to the customers that are coming to me? Remember that, we've, as one of the people that I hear speak a lot says, we've turned everyone into someone who has 3 seconds worth of attention span on the internet. If you don't connect with your customer on the internet within the first 3 seconds, they're clicking off you and going somewhere else. So this online presence guide is an important piece of this process within COVID for sure, but also anytime that you're doing anything. Once you collect all of this material, we're back to the major flow chart now. You've collected your assumption material. Now you're going to look at your debt obligations, and people have certainly acquired debt in COVID, and you may need to acquire more. Some of the federal programs are debt programs, the EIDL loan being one of the most important ones that we talk about a lot. That's debt. The PPP program can be debt if you don't use it properly. So make sure that you understand that. And again, We give you a lot of information on those programs in our disaster lending and grant sheets. But you can use the stat assessment calculator to make sure that you have, there's instructions here on how to use this. Again, self-directed. If you get into it and you are concerned about it, you can always call one of the advisors and we can help walk you through it. But it does say, you know, how much debt, new debt have I acquired in this process? And more importantly, as new programs start, and some of them, again, may be debt programs, do I want to acquire more debt? Sometimes acquiring more debt is certainly not the answer to the long-term problem. So use the debt assessment calculator and make sure that you know how you're acquiring new debt. So you're going to add the new debt, you're going to add any revenue and expenses from new pivots that you are going to do in 2021 that you may have planned in addition to the ones that you may already have done in 2020. And then you're going to add the safety and protocol and messaging flow chart. So we're going to go there right now so that you can see what's on that, and then we'll come back to the master flow chart. So here we go. Here's the safety and messaging roadmap. Again, another flow chart. Again, all you need to do is double click on it. It brings it up in your window, and anything that is an essential tool is underlined so that you can go. The first thing you want to do when you're creating your safety and messaging around COVID-19 is to review all of your state and sector guidelines. And then you're going to create a safety protocol. And that's step one of this. So I'm going to take you there now. Here's your safety protocol sheet. Another long sheet. This one has a lot of click-throughs to other places. The ACCD has done an excellent job in the state of Vermont collecting, as you'll see, all the gubernatorial mandates is the governor has mandated how different sectors can behave, and those are certainly changing all the time. Again, more vaccinations are going to mean changes in mandates. If cases continue to go down, hopefully opening is going to be this summer fully, but again, you as a responsible business owner, you need to be checking your sector mandates frequently. I think going to the ACCD site, grabbing where your sector mandates are and bookmarking that so that you can go. They've done an excellent job of having everything there and then changing any new material to red so that when you go there, if there's red type, read that. That's the newest update. You can also sign up here for their newsletter because they're sending updates frequently, and that's another way to get them and make sure that you get them. Again, your sector guidelines, and then they do have an FAQ that they're updating frequently again as businesses are asking very specific questions. They have created some restart safety guidelines, and they have put in some cases sector templates. So because different businesses have different rules and different businesses have different interactions with your customers, you can find your sector template, or we've given you a basic template. I'm going to open that up so that you can see it. There is a basic template that you can use that's from the ACCD site that allows you to begin everything that you need to do to put a safety plan in place. These safety plans are really important. They feel like they're a lot of work, but I have to tell you from a business standpoint, it's a very smart thing to do. It's a smart thing to do for your staff to know you've done it, for your customers to know you've done it, for your insurance agent to know you've done it. When you've done it, you should, once you've collected all this information, we're going to take you to the next step where you actually write a specific safety plan. We've also given you some additional outside resources that we vetted and felt were very good. one on restaurants, one on retail, one on manufacturing, one on agriculture, and one on the creative economy, if you want to go to your specific sector and look at what other people have done. So you're, again, gathering data. Let's get back to the roadmap. Now you've gathered that data. What are you going to do with it? You're going to translate it. You're going to put it into what is the message that you want your customers to know? Because safety certainly is not only now in the middle of the pandemic, but will be for a longer period of time important to your customers. Do we know how the market is going to behave again when everyone can come out, when there's enough vaccinations so we have herd immunity? Where are all the variants? I mean, all of those questions that are swirling around us every day. As a business owner, it becomes your responsibility to be very clear about what a customer is going to expect when they come into your store or your establishment. Or even if they buy, I've had clients tell me that even when people buy from them on the website, they have had questions about how's your staff? Is your staff safe? Who's shipping my order? Where are they? Are they being protected? So knowing and messaging that, it may feel like we're all so tired of that. And certainly maybe we are, but at the same time, we're not. So as a business owner, it really is your responsibility to be consistent, and your strength and your confidence around this issue will reassure not only your staff, but your customers that you're doing everything you can to keep them safe. So make sure that you don't, and I would say talk to your staff often about safety. Again, it feels like we're over it, but we're not. And so constantly be asking your staff if they feel safe, if there's anything else that they would like you to do, anything else that they would like you to talk to your customer base around. I mean, this is an important time to keep everyone safe. So this checklist allows you to do that. You're going to use your written safety protocol that you wrote from the last one. You're going to use it to translate it into a much simpler, obviously, you're not publishing that long safety protocol. You're taking it into bite-sized things. This is what we expect of you when you come into this business. This is what's going to happen to you. This is how our staff is trained. Masks are required. We have, hand sanitizing stations everywhere. If you have dressing rooms, this is how we clean the dressing room. All of those statements you're going to want to train your staff on, and then make sure that your customers know over and over again. So this allows you to have the signage that's from the ACCD again. And there's also some Vermont Department of Health signs. And then how are you going to translate that? Are you going to do it through emails, through newsletters, through flyers? How often are you going to talk about it in your social media? What are your statements that you're making on your website? And then what does it cost you to do that? And then if you have any new pivots, what are the in this messaging section, what do you need to tell people about that? So, I have clients who have been doing only curbside takeout, but they may be changing when the weather gets better to outside dining again. When do they announce that? What do they say about that? So again, I think communication becomes extremely important throughout this entire process. So don't forget to keep talking as much as it feels like you've said it all before. You need to keep saying it again. I mean, I remember talking to my customers, my clients, about whenever you do a show, say you have a value-added food product and you've gone to a tasting, and part of the hard part about doing a tasting is by the 15th time you've said, this is what this is, you feel like it's boring. But always remember that if that's customers standing in front of you for the first time, it's the first time they've had the experience. So you have to think about it from their vantage point. So if a customer is coming into your location or is interacting with your business during COVID, you need to assume it's the first time and you need to tell them what's going on. and how you're keeping everyone safe, including them. Then you're going to launch the message in step 4. Again, I think we're going to go back to the bottom part of that sheet that we were just on. So there was translate was at the top, and then launch was at the bottom here. How are you doing it? How can you, what methods and processes are you using to tell the customers how is all on this sheet. So you'll use that checklist. You're going to capture any expenses. Sometimes that's costing us more money to do this kind of consistent messaging. But you do have to grab it for both your projections and your cash flow. On the safety protocol sign going down the other side of this flow chart, you're going to use the customer message to train your staff. You're going to have it inform their on-site daily contact, and then you're going to continuously review and update. And you're going to make sure, as I said, that your staff is feeling safe and they understand exactly what's going on and how to speak to the customer. And when you need to, as the owner, step in. Sometimes I think staff have a little bit harder time talking to people who may not be, doing the mask mandate correctly, or if just make sure that your staff knows that you're there and it's your business and you are going to be the one who will take care of any significant problems if there are significant problems that need to be handled. So going back to the major roadmap again. So now we've captured all of that information. We know if there are any additional costs coming from this safety protocol and messaging, and now we're going to create the financial projections. Now this is where people really get, this is a hard one. I'm not going to sugarcoat this part. Doing financial projections is a difficult process for some people. Some people love it. Some people don't like it at all. Some people wish I'd never mentioned it, but this is what's a financial projection. It's really taking your profit and loss statement, your revenues and your expenses, and projecting them out for 12 months at a time. Are they guesses? Yes, but if you do them correctly, they are really informed guesses, and they can be a really important tool for running your business, especially during COVID when things are changing so remarkably. I think they're doubly important in COVID. I think they are always important no matter what. We've created a couple of ways for you to do them. We've given you a set of instructions on how to use QuickBooks to create an Excel spreadsheet so that you can do your projections. We've given you templates that you can use, whether you're a cost of goods sold model where you're tracking the cost of your product. So if you're a restaurant, you're going to use a cost of goods sold model, and the cost of goods sold is going to equal whatever food is on the plate. If you're a manufacturer and you create a product, it's going to be whatever the cost of that product is. And then there are businesses like service businesses that don't use the cost of goods sold model because they don't need to. Bookkeepers, accountants, massage therapists, you don't need a cost of goods sold model. So we've given you both kinds. I'm going to just show you one. I'll show you the cost of goods sold model. It's going to come up as a spreadsheet. There's a series of instructions here on how to do it. We've given you 2021. There are some formulas in here that are already there. There's some instructions on how to use them. There's a COVID-19 related expense category for those things that you're going to add, because you are going to have maybe additional safety equipment. You're definitely going to have safety supplies. You are going to have advertising. You may have website changes and updates. You're going to have increased cleaning. You may have increased insurance. So this is one specifically for COVID. This section can be easily taken out post-COVID, or you'll still be working with us, hopefully, and we can provide you with a new one. But this is a way, and then we've given you a blank one to go forward. If you want to go into 2022, there's ways to continue to bring this forward. So please use this. If you don't know how to do it at all, you can certainly enlist your CPA or your bookkeeper to assist. Some of our advising team uses a product called Fin. If you're already working with one of your advisors, Vermont Small Business Development Advisor with Fin, your projections are part of that process. But it's very important to know, it's always hard to just think of your business as how it feels it's doing. I know that's small business owners have an enormous number of things to do every day. And I would tell you that the majority of the staff at Vermont Small Business Development Center have owned our own businesses. I've owned my own business. I know what a day is like in the life of a small business owner. I know how many problems come up during the day, how many opportunities, how much fun it is, how much not fun it is, depending on what day you're in. And certainly COVID has made that entirely different, as you are worried about everyone's safety and health. But without projections, it's really just a guess. And unfortunately, guesses aren't good enough, especially now. So take the time to do this. And again, if you need some assistance, let us know and we'll give you the help that we can. Back to the roadmap. Once you have those, once you know what your finances really look like, you're at the decision-making points of this flow chart. And you can decide that you're going to stay operational in 2021. We'll go down that one in a second. Or you can say that the business needs to close or it needs to transition to another owner. We have had this happen. This is going to continue to happen in the state of Vermont, across the country. There are businesses that were maybe not as healthy going into COVID-19, and COVID-19 has just been, too much. It could be that you were already considering closing your business, or you were already considering retiring. There's any number of issues that could bring you to this decision-making point. It's a hard one always to do it before you're ready. But if you do decide to close, we've given you a very detailed closing checklist that goes through everything that you need to do. We've also added, and I'd like to call this out and note it especially, we have worked with the Vermont Law School to create an expanded tool on bankruptcy. It's true that bankruptcy is going to be an option for some people because of COVID. It's a really very detailed, very good look at what you need to begin to consider this process. And I think what I learned in doing this taking this program myself from the Vermont Law School was that as difficult as it is to consider this, it really is the smartest and most ethical way to close a business under most circumstances. And so I'm scrolling down so you'll see this section. We have a bankruptcy information page. There is a bankruptcy webinar now. If we go to this page, we can see what it looks like. You can see that there's a webinar. On the webinar was the Honorable Judge Colleen Brown, who is the Chief United States Bankruptcy Judge for the District of Vermont. She's been doing it for 20 years. She was incredible. She said, and I will quote here, as a bankruptcy judge, I start with the premise that most businesses that come before me are there because of factors that were beyond their control. There is a common misconception that businesses who are pursuing bankruptcy relief have failed. This is not how I view it. Bankruptcy is a process of taking control and trying to be proactive in restructuring a business's financial situation. Bankruptcy is actually the responsible path forward. It benefits not only the business, but the business's creditors, employees, customers, and community as well. When a business is struggling financially, the response is to pretend that everything is fine. And what she's saying is, if you do that, you miss the point of this. And so we encourage you to watch the PowerPoint presentation. to go through. There's a list of, there's a bankruptcy comparison chart for you. There's a hypothetical company example. And then most importantly, there's a checklist of materials that you would prepare for your first appointment with a bankruptcy attorney. And usually, often you can get a consult on a bankruptcy just to begin to understand where you are. So we know that this is going to be a consideration for some businesses always, but probably even more so as COVID continues. So please look at that section as you're going through it. I want to get back to the checklist. But here's the rest of the checklist. These are all of the things. This is even if you're not in COVID, this is a great checklist for closing your business because it has everything that you need to do to close out a business, from notifying, creating the checklist yourself. What do you need to do in your general business area? What do you need to do in your financials? What do you need to do to notify creditors? What do you need to do that's tax related? What do you need to do to close out all of your information on your employees? What do you need to do about your vendors? And then how do you notify your customers? When you need to talk to a lawyer, closing out things like your registrations, your business registrations, your EIN numbers, the bankruptcy section again. And then we've added some additional IRS information that might be extremely helpful. So this is a really helpful tool normally, but use it if that's the choice that you're going to make this time. If you're thinking about succession planning, there's a succession planning checklist of things that you need to begin to consider. What are your goals for selling the business? What do you want from selling the business? Do you expect to get future income from it? How do you want it? Configured? When do you want to do it? What's your timeline? What are the needs of the other owners, your shareholders, your employees, your community? What is your business need? Who do you need on your team? And how do you, what is your exit plan? Because you can liquidate, you can sell to outsiders, you can sell to your family, sometimes you can sell to your managers and your employees. This is a checklist that gives you the beginnings of how to think about succession planning. If you decide to stay in operation, you're going to continuously review the safety and protocol message. You're going to continuously review your operations plan because your operations plan could change at any moment. And you're going to use our 13-week rolling cash flow. This is another tool, self-guided, that we've created for you so that you can look at where, and I need to get to that one. There's the directions. There, we're getting there. There's the 13-week cash flow. This allows you to go, how much cash do I have coming in? What's my cash position now? Cash flow is as simple as this. What's my cash position now? How much money do I have? And then what do I have for uses of that money right now? And what additional money do I have coming in? So what do my accounts receivable look like over 13 weeks? And what do my accounts payable look like over 13 weeks? So where will I end up at the end of that period of time? Do I have enough cash to run for the next 13 weeks? It's not the balance of your checkbook. We'd all love to live just off the balance of our checkbooks, but it doesn't tell us what other bills we have to pay. It only tells us the available money. So this takes into a consideration all of that. If you're not familiar with how to do a weekly cash flow and what it looks like, go back to that Know Your Numbers section and watch the video, the webinar on cash flow. It's a tool that's really important. And especially now in COVID, as we're trying to determine, because there isn't as much history. Often businesses that have been running for a long time know sort of where their cash position is over time. Obviously, Vermont is a very seasonal state, so we know where we are in ski season. In winter, we know where we are in mud season, we know where we are in summer. And then fall, we know where we are in stick season. we sort of know what we need as a business. And sometimes, and that the more you've been in business, the longer you've been, the more you understand that. But again, right now, COVID is not giving us the same response from our markets, not only because we've needed to be closed and have been mandated to be closed, and then when we've opened, we've been mandated to open under restrictions, but also the market is acting differently. So a 13-week cash flow becomes really important to do right now. So please, please do it. And then you're going to I would like to see you schedule some reviews of both the projections, and then here's what we projected, here's what actually happened. So how do we go forward? What do we need to change? What needs to be maneuvered differently, responded to differently, so that we continue to keep going? Again, that's the pause that I've been talking about. You pause, you take a look, you gather, you pause. The other thing I want you to do in the pause is I want you to take care of yourself. And I know if you were sitting here with me right now, you would smile and go, yeah, smart, Deborah, really great thing to say. But the reality is, if you can't stay sane and centered in this process, COVID is hard to maneuver for everyone, but it's really hard when you're running a small business and your livelihood is on the line and your employees are on the line. And so getting some time, believe it or not, I give as homework a lot, that I want people to take an afternoon, a day, sometime, so that they can get out and again, get a little bit of perspective and then come back a little bit refreshed as you possibly can, and know that you're making decisions in a slightly better frame of mind. So that's the end of the regular roadmap. You could use this roadmap all the time, even without COVID. And we will put it up again after COVID. We can take some of the safety things out, and we can certainly take this crucial change things out, but this is really a roadmap for running your business in general. But were we still in COVID as we are, we did decide to do this crucial change roadmap, because I'm asking you to take the time to assess and respond, to take the pause, to not just have a knee-jerk reaction to something. I'm fond of saying, just because you can doesn't mean you should. As things start to open up, I'm beginning to talk to clients who are going, should I reopen in this way? Should I? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Each business is different. Your personal needs are different. Your employees' needs are different. Your customers' needs are different. I have people who've created businesses pivots that are going so well for them. They're going to maintain them until COVID is completely over, because it is the safest thing for them to do for themselves, their family, their employees, and their customers, and they're making enough money to be able to live. Some of them are thriving actually in this new situation and are learning different things about their business. But we're still in this position where it isn't over yet. So that's why this crucial change. And if you're going to do the crucial change, you don't have the time to assess and respond. You simply have to respond. So we decided to take this out and make it a separate flow chart of its own. So here we go. This is what this one looks like. Again, you double click on it. You simply need to stop, and then you need to do it. And there are two instances under which this can happen. One, the governor does a new mandate, and that simply directs that your business has to do something. That's when you review your existing projections and your current P&L and your 13-week cash flow, and you decide if you're going to close or stay or close and sell, or you're going to continue with adaptations. And in that case, you're going to redo your projections. You're going to redo your 13-week cash flow. You're going to do a new staffing and operational plan, and you're going to new message again, because obviously the mandate has changed something pretty significant. So a lot of the same things from the other one, but done little bit more quickly. Hopefully you've already done your projections so that you can just redo them, and you've already done your 13-week cash flow, so you can just make whatever changes that the governor is requiring. The other one is that you have a COVID-19 incident. You either you or your staff or a customer reports that they're either have a COVID-19 diagnosis or they've had COVID-19 contact. The immediate thing that you need to do is close, and then the next call is to the Vermont Department of Health, and you need to follow all of their instructions. The other thing that you need to do is you need to notify your insurance agent. If you have any employers on workers' comp, it's important that they know that you've had a COVID-19 incident and you can begin that process. And they can walk you through what needs to happen around that. But so close, send everyone home, call the Vermont Department of Health, notify your insurance agent, and then you can go back over to the left-hand side of the crucial change and begin to go through that process and make your decisions about how you're going to go forward. But this is just a simpler, quicker chart. If that happens, we hope it doesn't, but all of the things that you need to do are right here. So in closing, thank you so much for taking the time to walk through the roadmaps with me. I really hope that it will assist you in making the best, most informed decisions about your business in the month ahead. I understand that this is a lot of work. I understand that it's a pretty deep dive. I also believe that if you can take the time, you'll know your business even better than you do now, and that will be a good thing. That will be one of the positive outcomes of this process. I will tell you that my colleagues and I at Vermont Small Business Development Center have been continuously inspired by the dedication, the wisdom, and the entrepreneurial spirit of our Vermont businesses. We're here with you through this next year and beyond, and we'll continue to create tools and opportunities for you to navigate this unsettling time. So thank you. Please be safe and take good care.